This episode of Threadbanger is brought to you by Cotton's new online exclusive fashion show, Inseam.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to Threadbangers Holiday How-Tos.
Alright everyone, hold on to your hats because this week Meg is back and she's showing us how to make one of her awesome capes just in time for the chilly season.
So sit back, relax, grab some eggnog, and enjoy the show.
Hello, I'm Meg Allen Cole. You might recognize me from my weekly show on Threadbanger, Decor It Yourself. But before Decor It Yourself, I ran my own one-woman, earth-friendly company called Enderby Design. Enderby makes new, lovely things for you and your home out of recycled vintage fabrics. One Enderby piece that you may recognize are my signature capes that Corinne has worn on this very show. Some of you have asked how you could make that cape. So this week, we're bringing you into Enderby headquarters and I'm going to show you my very own pattern. The materials you're going to need for your capes are a measuring tape, something to make your pattern out of, like canvas or cardboard, your vintage and recycled fabrics, your button, and your sewing accoutrement. The first piece of your cape pattern is going to be the cape back, and you're going to basically create a rounded triangle that is about 10 inches at the top, 30 inches at the bottom, dipping down about 4 inches, 23 inches from top to bottom. And you want your middle to be about 25 inches. Adjust according to your shoulders, how wide you want it to come out here, and how long you want your cape to be. Once you have your first piece cut a duplicate shape with the same measurements. Then cut a straight line from the top to the bottom of your front piece. Now you're going to create 2 slits for your arms. It's going to be about 6 inches across from the edge of your second piece, and it's going to go up about 9 inches. Do that on both sides. For your collar piece, you're going to basically cut out a elongated oval that has a diameter of 25 inches and a radius of 9 inches. Then you'll cut out a strip along the perimeter of same said oval that is 5 inches wide. So these are your 3 pattern pieces, and you can find the downloadable template over on enderbydesigns.com and over on threadbanger.com. So once you've created your pattern, place it on your fabric, take your scissors, and cut your pattern out. And if you're wondering, my pattern allowed seam allowance already, so just cut along the lines. And now you have your first piece. Take your 2 front pieces, and then lay them down on your fabric. You can pin the piece down if you want, but I just freehand it. Make sure the 2 front pieces of your cape are right next to each other on the fabric. We're gonna hold off on cutting these slits until we have both pieces of fabric pinned together. Now choose a complementary piece for the lining of your cape. Some people might think this clashes. I think it looks awesome. So now you're going to do the same exact thing. Place your pattern pieces on the fabric and cut. It's also good to take the edge of your garment piece and align it with a cool spot on the design. Place the second one as close as you can to the first piece and cut that mug out. Now cut your fabric in half from the bottom to the top. Place your collar and cut your collar. Pick a bold, fun pattern for your collar and your closure piece. I'm going with classic black and white houndstooth that is always in style, but is in abundance right now. It's best to use a heavier piece of fabric for your collar so you can pop that. Once you have all of your pieces cut out, you're going to take them, place them good sides together, and pin along the edges. Be sure to allow about 1/2 inch for seam allowance. Once you have your 2 front pieces of your cape pinned together, you're going to create a dart right in the middle of the piece. Fold it in half, take a pin, and pin about 1/2 inch out, down. For more info on darting, search darts in the Threadbanger archive. Now's the time where you're going to cut your arm slits, 6 inches across from the outer edge of your front panel and approximately 9 inches up, and pin along the edges, allowing 1/2 inch for seam allowance. To make sure your arm slits are symmetrical, place the one uncut piece below the piece that is cut and cut to the top. If your collar fabric isn't thick enough, you can put some interfacing in between, but mine is, so I'm going to go ahead and just place the 2 pieces good sides together and pin away, allowing 1/2 inch for seam allowance. First thing I'm gonna do is just sew the darts. So you sew your triangle, cut at the fold of the triangle, take your two pieces, fold them down flush, and sew them down. And you got your dart.
Your style, your hands. You're watching Threadbanger.
Once you've completed all of your darts, you're ready to start sewing the perimeter of your pieces. Allow 1/2 inch of seam allowance on the top of your pieces. When I sew the back, I start from the middle of the collar and work my way out, leaving an opening about 4 inches so I can turn the fabric right side out. And last up, we're gonna sew our collar, but I only sew 3 sides, here, the top, and here, leaving this bottom open. Before we take our pieces and turn them right side out, we're gonna create crisp corners by snipping our fabric like this. In the arm slits, we take this piece and we cut a little snip there and there, like an M for Meg. Now we're gonna flip them right side out. And they poke those corners out. Now I'm just gonna iron down my pieces to make sure I have clean edges. So once all your pieces are ironed, I take the side that's going to be the exterior of the cape and I place them good sides together and I start to pin. Take your top pieces, fold the tops down about 1/2 inch and pin together. Now I'm gonna sew the perimeter of the 2 front pieces, but I'm not gonna sew them together yet. Once you've sewn along the perimeter of your front pieces, you're gonna flip it over and sew along the bottom of your back piece. Now take where you pinned your front and your back pieces together and you're gonna sew down the line, allowing 1/2 inch seam allowance. And lastly, sew the top piece of your cape back together. So now take your seams, you fold this down, and we're gonna tack down this entire seam so that from the inside of your coat, you still have a nice finished garment. Don't hold me to it, but I think I'm creating a French seam right now. Once you've finished all the edges of your cape, you're gonna take your collar and we're going to attach the collar to the top. I find the exact middle point of the big piece of cape and I pin so I know where that is. Then I take the collar and I find the exact middle point of the collar, pin so I know where that is. Align this with the center of your cape. I take the bottom piece of the collar, fold about 1/2 inch up, place the cape inside, take the other piece of the collar, fold 1/2 inch up, place on top, making sure that the collar is straight and taut, and then take a pin and pin it together. You're then going to go to the end of your collar and the end of your cape, and this is where you might need to cut a little snip in the collar to make sure that you can manipulate the fabric. Fold, place, fold, and pin. And this step takes just a little bit of working with the fabric and cutting little snips where you need to so that you make it all smooth. Go to the other end of your collar and the other edge of the cape and do the same. All the while, flip over to make sure that you have a finished edge on the back side. As you're pinning from the outside to the inside of your cape, you're going to find that you have a little excess fabric on the cape, but not the collar. You simply fold over to create a little pleat and pin on top of that, which gives a nice shape to the back of your cape. Remove your 2 placeholder pins in the center of your cape. Bring your cape over to your sewing machine and you're going to sew along this seam to attach the collar to the cape. Once you have successfully attached your collar to your cape, you are now going to sew a top stitch along the edge of the collar. We're almost done. The last piece of the cape is the closure. I'm going to create my closure tab with the same fabric that I'm using on the collar. For your closure tab, you're going to want an oval that is 5 inches by 3 1/4 inches. I take this, good sides together, and pin. Now I cut this puppy out. And now, like all your pieces, you're going to take this sucker over to your sewing machine. Starting right before the curve, start sewing it together, pulling taut so that it's a nice clean curve. Be sure to leave about a 3-inch opening for your tab so you can flip it right side out. Take your opening, fold each side down, and pin. Take your trusty iron and your closure and press the iron down firmly to create nice crisp lines. Take your closure over to your sewing machine and sew as close to the edge as you can. Try your cape on, and before you add the closure, look in the mirror to see where you'd like your closure piece. Once you pick a spot, hold it in place and pin so you know where to sew it. For your last bit of sewing, you bring the cape with the closure on top of it over to the machine, and you're going to sew a nice line down. Sew a couple of lines along the edge of the cape and closure to make sure it's on securely. Once you've added your button, you've got yourself a brand new cape. And if you don't have the time to make an entire cape all by yourself, feel totally free to support your local indie business, enderbydesigns.com.
Hey, that's all we got for you this week. However, if you're still itching for more Meg, make sure you tune in next Wednesday for a very special holiday edition of Decor It Yourself.
Leave us a comment below, subscribe to the show, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.